All right, so thanks for joining everybody. It's December 18th, and I think it's going to be our last call for the year, unless you want me to intrude on your Christmas
Ooh,
day.
right, right, right.
So, yeah, so someone asked me, and I have other purposes. I'm an activist, right? So I'm going to do things that are in that area. So I had a great team. Mocha was on that back a few years ago, and we did some really good work, I think, on the fake pandemic cases where people were being punished by their employer and by the public school system for not participating in the absolutely phony pandemic, which was never real. There was no COVID. Forget it. No such thing.
But I had a
It was
sore
all
throat.
fake. What, Ray?
I had a sore throat. Wasn't that COVID?
Yeah, that was COVID. Yeah. My wife went to a physician a few weeks ago, hey, Elaine, and I wasn't there. I was too busy. She couldn't wait. So she goes, then she calls me, says, "Come on over and talk to the doctor." I'm like, it was some other condition. I don't know what it was, some skin thing. So I go over there. I drive over there, 20 minutes away, and the dumbass physician's got a surgical mask on. And I knew right away. I said, "John, you got to control yourself. You just got to control yourself because I was just going to be so, I was going to explode." And so this idiot starts talking about how your wife has COVID. And when she said that, I said, "You're a quack, and I'm turning you into the Board of Medical Examiners." And I took my wife and left. And I did. I turned her stupid ass into the Board of Medical Examiners. So you can see a little of my passion on the subject that we're going to cover tonight. And I'm going to cover it because it has a lot to do with uh, privacy and private property. So,
Yeah, how can I be sure that you're
all
actually
right,
going to
who's
help
doing
me?
You
that?
want to make me
You'll be
host
done,
and I'll
right?
just kind of manage stuff for you?
Yeah, that would be so helpful. I just look here in the
Yeah.
participants, and if I see someone unmuted and there's noise, I just mute them. But yeah, that would be, thank you so much. So I made myself notes, and so here's the core element of what I want to cover. So I'll give an example. So I had a conversation with someone recently, maybe a month or so ago, and she has her children in school in New York somewhere, and the school is telling her that she has to have certain vaccinations administered to her child as a condition of the enrollment. And I said, the conversation was this. I said, "How is the school going to discover whether or not you've done this? You're going to have to waive your medical privacy rights." So think about this. You have medical privacy rights, and if you try to assert them, you get punished.
Mhm.
So maybe there's a way around it where you still have your medical privacy rights and you do something that would show cooperation, but reveal the fact that you have medical privacy rights. So here's how you do it. I told her, send a nice letter to the school saying, "Okay, if you would like to know whether or not my child has submitted to a medical treatment, a medical intervention, and you want access to his medical records, you are more than welcome to contact his physician. His name is Dr. Smith at, here's his address, and you can certainly contact his physician and request such disclosure of his medical records." What do you think the doctor's going to do?
Not do it.
He's going to
No
say, "Ain't
way.
no way, no how."
Mm-mm.
Ain't going to do it. He has too much liability, right? So if the doctor would not do it because of medical privacy rights, why should another his patient waive his rights
Mhm.
as a condition of benefiting or participating in normal things in society? This is what's going on. So it reveals something, doesn't it? "Sure, you can have access to my medical records. Just go ask my doctor." And I said, just for added measure, I told her, "Make sure you send a written notice to your doctor saying you are not to disclose my medical records to anyone without a court order from the Department of Health." Yeah. So this is where, where we're coming for property rights. And so, there's a lot of things here. So the state doesn't have a compelling interest. You can't be required. So instead, what the state does is it gets these employers to do it in the private sector.
Yes,
Yeah, and
yes.
penalize you for, exclude you from society,
Yeah, this
exclude
is
you
a
from
horrible nexus.
the
Yeah.
most important things you can do in your life is to make money and take care of your family. And that they're going to put a condition on that you waive your medical privacy rights. and submit to some quackery.
Mhm.
So here's the premise. So the core question, and I did this whole outline thing. So the core question is here, when, if ever, may the government compel a person to undergo medical treatment against his will? Now it can happen. It can. And there's some discussion we'll get into on the Jacobson case, Jacobson versus Massachusetts from 1905. And in that case, it wasn't about someone being ordered to submit to a medical treatment, like a vaccination. Jacobson was ordered to pay a fine because he refused, and he had every right to refuse. And it was the Department of Health who applied to the court. And there was no evidentiary hearing as to whether or not he was a threat to someone or himself or had a deadly contagious disease. That wasn't the subject of the case.
Yeah.
The case was, should he be compelled to pay a $5 fine? Remember, this was in 1905. So today that might be $500. Who knows, how weak the dollar is these days. So that case is being used improperly and cited improperly throughout the media and the internet as the standard by which people can be and should be compelled to submit to medical treatments against their will. And that is not what the case was at all. Nothing whatsoever. So can medical treatment be imposed without a diagnosis?
Right.
I mean, could it ever be imposed without a diagnosis? Maybe sometimes it would have to be in an emergency situation. For example, if you're bleeding to death, there is a medical treatment for that, right? Might save your life. Do I need a diagnosis by a licensed professional?
And they've gotten into this weird area, John, like that thing Angelina Jolie was like the poster child for, the, preemptive, take your breasts off, get them cut off because
oh my gosh.
So, like that whole idea of like you're preventing a future disease that you might have. That's also like in the pipeline in terms of that question.
Yeah. And the other thing is the implication that the false premise that it's genetic, like heart disease. It's not genetic.
Excuse me, John, can I ask just one quick question?
Yes.
So the court case was just to fine him for not doing it. They did not they didn't force him to get a vaccination.
They could not.
They just fined him. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I think I have some more comments on that later on.
The Supreme Court upheld the fine, but he never got the injection. Right.
Right. Whatever that was, tuberculosis or whatever, smallpox, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the core question would be, second one is, can a medical treatment be imposed without diagnosis, without medical necessity? So we can do a medical treatment against someone's will as a medical necessity. Well, it's obvious if someone's bleeding to death, and let's say he's unconscious. Well, it's against his will then, isn't it? And without court oversight, of course, we don't have time. So now here's the catch here. Can the medical treatment be imposed without diagnosis, without medical necessity, without court oversight for the purpose of preventing illness in somebody else?
Yes, that's the key question.
Now with that little clause, I would just say never, 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 right? I mean, think about it. If I'm going to be careful so I don't break my arm, is that for someone else's benefit? How can I possibly do something carefully so someone else doesn't break his arm? Right? So anyways, if there's a valid medical treatment with the efficacy to prevent or, get rid of a disease or treat it properly, why wouldn't the person who is subject to exposed to that disease take the medical treatment? Why do I have to take it for his benefit? Why do you have to violate my rights when you could just have the person take it? Or if he's so scared, he could do it himself, right? But no one can hear this. I remember during the fake pandemic, it's just like a cult. So public policy requires any compelled medical treatment to be authorized by court order. Okay, it's got to be based upon a physician's affidavit. Now, I'm telling you what public policy is that's been around for at least 100 years. I'm not making this up. This comes right out of the CDC. And the CDC all its policies over the last few years changed just in opposition to longstanding public policy regarding, if there is such a thing, public health. There's not, but health measures that are, recognized across the population. So there needs to be an evidentiary hearing that is prompted by or based upon a physician's affidavit, someone who's competent and qualified and had permission to make a diagnosis of someone or some form of it, so he can make an affidavit, right, and give it to the Department of Health, in which case only the Department of Health, which is a power that cannot be delegated, may go to the court and ask for intervention, meaning avail itself of the police power of the court to seize somebody who refuses a medical treatment that's a threat to others or himself and treat him against his will. That can happen. We actually have public policy for that.
John,
Yes.
Can it be generalized, speculative, or stereotypical?
No, of course not. I mean, that's what Jacobson was talking about. It can't be generalized. It can't just be applied across the board like these employer policies, right? Or the policies of public accommodations. Everybody must submit to the same medical treatment without a diagnosis. No, it cannot be generalized. So there's got to be an evidentiary hearing in a court. There's got to be a hearing. It's got to be on the affidavit, and then there has to be a medical necessity, and there has to be imminent harm to somebody, to the person or somebody else. So what would you call a policy that applies to everybody without even knowing who they are first? And the policy is intended to impose a medical treatment without a diagnosis, without licensed professionals, against the will of a person, without consideration of his medical history, because you're not going to know his medical history. It's not even with consideration of his medical history because it's not being requested from you. And if it were, then you'd have the right to say, no, I'm not going to give it to you. For the sole purpose of protecting others, not the person who's the subject of the policy. I would call that negligent.
Yeah.
I mean, the policy itself for treating one person would be negligent, but to just say that it's to protect other people, that's the definition of negligence.
Mm-hmm.
That's just asinine.
Mm-hmm.
Never in human history is there anything in science that says a person needs to have a medical treatment to protect somebody else. I mean, that right there should stop all the phony pandemics, but it's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So the premises I like to present to you guys are this. These are mine now. Okay, so proving vaccination or medical treatment requires disclosure, right? And waiver of medical privacy rights. So it's one thing to say you have to submit to medical treatment to get this thing in society. But then how would you know if I did it? If I just told you, well, I did that. Can I go about my job now? Can I go to school now? No, you have to prove that you did it. Well, then I have to waive my medical privacy rights to avail myself of this illegal measure. So it's a two-sided problem. Either I submit and disclose and waive my rights to medical privacy, or I don't submit and I still waive my rights, or I don't waive my rights. So it's a two-part problem. A medical treatment for one person cannot be intended to prevent illness in another. That's asinine. So that's what the whole premise was on the medical treatments. And then a medical treatment without a diagnosis, it has to be negligent unless you have some sort of weird situation like emergency, someone's bleeding to death, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it goes on from there. So there's lots of case law, and I did look this up. So in fact, I could actually show you. I could just share a screen here. I think I should do that. I think I looked these up. Jacobson. Yeah, I did look all these up just to make sure. Let me share a screen, and you guys can just use this if you want. I didn't think I was going to do that, but I will. So here, this is where we are in my notes. This is like 11 pages. We're not going to go over the whole thing, but so medical, let's see here. I got so many things on my screen here. So yeah, privacy is not optional. It's required. You have to respect someone's medical privacy. There's many, many reasons for that. Records are protected, disclosure limited, right? So even under the rules of ethics, you can't do it. You're not doing it. You're not going to do it because it's convenient for the employer You're not trying to protect the employer. It's supposed to be about the person that's subject to these things. But anyways, this is a tort, right? It's a battery. It could be a battery. It could be negligence. It could be civil rights violations, unlawful exclusion, all these things. But let's look at, let me see what I was going to find. Was it the citation? So there's Jacobson. Here we go. So there's no duty to undergo medical treatment for others. I'm trying to move this around on my screen. Just leave it like that. All right. So you guys can look this up. I will have a citation that's further down in the document. And then quarantine and isolation restrict movement, not bodily integrity. So you could be quarantined and isolated in a group with a court order. There must be a court order. And then civil commitment to go into jail requires findings, right? That you're a danger to others, right? Emergency treatment requires incapacity or imminent death. That's the deciding factor. Can I administer a medical treatment? It has to be under these conditions. So here's what the holding was for Jacobson. The fine. It did not authorize forced vaccination. I mean, our public policy regarding this was developed around Jacobson. I mean, in that time period. It came out of the post-Civil War era in the States. And then, of course, the courts have to get involved. And there has to be these conditions, right? Real and substantial relation. And so here's the thing. What the heck is real and substantial relation to public health, right? So let's go back to the days of the fake pandemic, right? I'm not going to mention the term, but where was the assay of the specimen that was supposed to be the contagious pathogen? Did anyone ask for that? Did the Department of Health have it? You would think it would.
I asked for it, John, and they couldn't give it to me. They admitted, they said, we can't find it. Yep.
Thank
They
you.
said, we
Can't
can't
find
give
it.
it.
We can't find it, but it will
doesn't
kill you.
exist.
Right, of course it didn't exist. No, the whole thing's a scam.
My friend also asked the mayor of LA, and she got the letter back that they don't have it.
Yeah, I've seen that many times. That's why when I went to that physician's office and she said your wife has COVID, and I thought to myself, okay, so I'm not a doctor, and I thought in order to diagnose someone with such a dangerous, deadly thing, if there is, there has to be some way to compare it against a sample, a specimen, right? Like an assay. There has to be some. How could you do that in 20 minutes? No, don't you have to take it out for testing or something? And then if it was so deadly, why is she standing there in the office? Why didn't she call the police? Why didn't she call paramedics? Why didn't she rush her to the hospital? Why didn't she file an affidavit with the Department of Health? She didn't do any of those things. She's a quack. So there has to be a real and substantial relation. We would know this if there was some way to compare and test whether or not the sample matched an actual specimen that had the same, whatever viral, what is it, pattern or something? I don't know.
Well, there's something called Koch's postulate, and
Yeah.
right, and in order to that's completely been totally ignored for decades, which means that you have to isolate an organism from a person who's exhibiting symptoms, culture that organism, and then reinfect another individual to create the same symptoms that the other person had. That's Koch's postulate, okay?
Exactly. That's why you can't diagnose it in 20 minutes. You have to do all that.
That's right.
Really. Yeah. Thank you for explaining. I remember that now. I had forgotten that totally, but thank you. So yeah, so the courts can get involved. So here's your citation. If you guys want to look it up, read the case. I read the case years ago. The holding is not what's being promoted in the news. And it's a due process. So due process is, I guess, a fundamental right. The right to be heard, As we know, health departments are not the courts. What was happening is the CDC was having this policy, and then the doctors were administering medical treatments on people without a diagnosis, but they were doing it because the CDC told them to. How can you have a corporation that's never has any responsibility, like a licensed physician, impose a medical treatment through a physician who he himself is liable for the treatment of his patient? How can he be excused from liability when he says, well, that corporation over there said that I have to do that to you? How is that a proper medical treatment? Come on. That's just negligence. I mean, I like to use
By the
crazy
way,
analogies.
the CDC is a federal agency too, and all the regulations it used when they were doing that interpretive.
Well, sure.
None of them substantive.
No, they don't. Of course. So, anyways, yeah, there's all these conditions on it, right? So, but let's look at some of these.
I wonder
Mhm.
too, the CDC for sure is a public-private partnership, which means that the CDC itself is a private corporation, which is how it gets to hold patents on dozens of vaccines.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
It's that that's true, Elaine, and they also profit by selling the vaccines to the county, city, state agencies. Also, they have a foundation attached to them,
Mm,
which Bill Gates and all these others who have conflicting interests donate money. So it's really not a federal agency. It's a private.
It's quasi.
it's private because of its
Yeah, it's
funding.
quasi. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not a
So
real federal agency.
if it's
Right.
not public,
Exactly.
then if it's
Exactly.
not funded by tax dollars, then it's not accountable to the people it's ruling over,
It
so to
is
speak.
funded by tax dollars. That's the problem.
Well, exactly. And then it's not still being held accountable for what it's
Yeah,
doing. So, or
exactly.
never was. So, all right.
So
And of course,
correct.
we all know this stuff. The Department of Health has to, go to the court. That's our checks and balances. There has to be evidence, right? There's got to be all these things. And then so forth. There's a little redundancy here. Let's see, we go through here. Now, this here, it says no person should be compelled. The actual thing is that no person can be compelled to undergo medical treatment against his will, especially without a diagnosis. That's just negligence for the purpose of preventing illness in another, especially for that. Especially,
Mm.
no matter what else. I mean, if I'm wrong on all this, of course it's not for this. Come on. Not for someone else to help someone else. That person can have the medical treatment himself.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's a closing statement. Yeah, so we got Jacobson, and look at the holdings, okay? So upholds a limited vaccine statute under police power, but expressly recognizes constitutional limits, judicial review, prohibits laws that are plain, palpable invasion of rights, does not authorize forced vaccination. But they made the guy pay $5, which I would have fought that one too.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know what kind of representation he had, but here's another one. And this, I looked it up, does exist. All these exist. It's really good. Recognizes constitutionally protected liberty interest in refusing unwanted medical treatment. It's constitutionally protected liberty interest. That doesn't mean your rights come from the Constitution. It means the law prohibits the violation of a right that you already had before the Constitution existed. All right, same thing, Washington Harper. Forced medical treatment requires procedural safeguards. Well, okay, there are some conditions for this forced medical treatment and findings of medical necessity. Yeah. I mean, I still see people wearing surgical masks in the grocery store, workers, customers. And I know what's happened. They probably went to the dumbass doctor that gave him a fake vaccine and said, you need to wear a surgical mask for a few days so you don't infect anybody. And so the idiots are wearing surgical masks. If I have someone wanting to wait on me is wearing a surgical mask, I'll go somewhere else. I actually go to another line. I don't care if I have to wait longer. I won't talk to the person. I'm just
That's
a
what they were
jerk
using
that
for
way.
PCR tests, those nasal swabs,
Yeah.
bypass
Yeah.
claiming, oh, when it was, false positive.
I know the doctors are still telling people this bullshit. So, and then they're selling in the United States and let's see, strict criteria for involuntary medical treatment requiring treatment to be medically appropriate. Of course, it goes on and on. So it's not just Jacobson. If you look at all these other citations, you'll see there's a lot of things here that, privacy is important. That's like number one. And then you have your fundamental rights, your right to be heard and this sort of thing. And then there's due process. So, constantly protect privacy interests. It's so important. Privacy interests. It's so important. Privacy is really the solution in many of these cases. That's why it's not about whether or not a person needs a medical treatment. It's whether or not you can know if he took the medical treatment. That's more important. That's why I say tell the school to go ask your child's physician.
The other thing with that too, John, is that let's just say somebody is seeing a doctor for a
Mhm.
specialty issue, you don't want to tell anybody to go to that doctor because then that's releasing your privacy as well.
Of course it
Say if
is.
someone's being
Yeah.
treated with cancer,
Yep.
well, they have no right to know that your doctor has that you're being treated by a doctor who's a cancer specialist.
Yeah.
And I say cancer with quotes around that word. But yeah,
Gotcha.
so you have to be very
Right.
careful with releasing even your doctor's name
Of course,
if you
his
have
name
one.
and his the type of
Yeah,
practice he's in. Yes,
yeah,
that's very
yeah,
important.
yeah.
Oh yeah. And let's see. Let's see if there's something new here. Heightened evidentiary standards. That was in 1979. Deprivation of liberty. So we have some pretty good cases here. Individualized assessment. Remember we talked about this, Moko?
Yeah.
Bragdon was a
Abbott.
you guys should read Bragdon.
That's a great case.
Oh my gosh. That right there should make you angry. How dare they do these things to us? Bragdon was out there, you know? They just ignored Bragdon.
Mhm.
Individualized assessment, which answers the question you brought up earlier. Can they do this in a generalized way?
Right.
No, thanks to Bragdon. And of course, if you look at Bragdon, you'll see all the other precedents on which this case was based. So there's lots of, if you look at any of these cases, you go read the whole file, you'll see all these other precedents that have been out.
Mhm.
So let's see, what does this one say? Every human being of adult years and sound mind has a right to determine what shall be done with his own body. My body, my choice, right? I almost don't even like that statement, but it's true. And then refuses to compel. So there's someone, it's crazy. Someone tried to sue a person to force him to give a bone marrow donation
Mm.
to save another's life. But it's the greater good. He must. Nope. Still can't do it. Still not required. I don't have a duty to save someone's life.
Mhm.
Sorry. There may be some exceptions to that, like in international law, but still. And restatement is kind of a collection of authorities, but there's no general duty to aid or rescue unless there's a special relationship. So if there's someone, for example, what do you call it? Guardianship.
Mhm.
Like maybe a guardian, right, would have some duty to aid or rescue his ward.
What about a
You know,
parent?
Our parents, yeah. I would
there
think.
may also be that as well. Like you wouldn't just you would be in big trouble if you just let your child die, right? If it was
I
she could
think
have been
so.
saved. Sure, yeah. I mean, if you're a stranger on a bus somewhere, probably not. Maybe because you feared for your own safety, okay, that's reasonable. And then HIPAA, I don't like to use HIPAA too much because it's more of it doesn't really overtly protect you because you're disclosing data to one of three different categories of organizations, each of which has less and less responsibility to protect your data. So it's more of a passive thing. And then ADA, of course, prohibits exclusion from public accommodations. What the heck is that? Public accommodation would be a place of business, let's say, that is open to the public, like a retail spot, unless there's been an individualized assessment. So imagine going to the grocery store and the moron at the door says you got to wear a surgical mask to come in here. So I say, I'd like to see a copy of the individualized assessment regarding my medical condition and your authority to impose a medical treatment on me without a diagnosis. Yeah, good luck with that conversation.
That was
I,
the
I mean,
that was the decision that the Judge Mizell in
yep.
Florida made in regards to the ADA 2008 amendment,
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
she made the decision toward the plaintiff because the employer violated
Yeah.
ADA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't reach that standard. She actually said that they didn't
Right.
do an individualized assessment. So that
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember
standard was
that.
Yeah.
not met.
And that was during the COVID. And
Yeah.
it was all because right when this, I don't like using that word, but when that scam started, the woman went into work on a Monday morning and just expressed the words, "Gosh, I'm really tired."
Oh my
And
gosh.
Oh,
Right. I've heard that
no.
and
one.
and
Yeah.
the employer went ballistic and sent her home. She had COVID. Crazy.
They're so
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah. So someone, whoever asked me to do this, he wanted me to go into Jacobson. So look, it was a criminal prosecution because apparently it was a crime to not submit to the medical treatment. local vaccination order. So apparently there was an order from, was it a judge maybe? So it's a completely different scenario. There was an actual court order that may have been obtained by the Department of Health, and this guy said, hell no, I'm not going to do it. And they didn't say, yes, you will. They said, no, just pay the fine. What does that tell you? So the statute did not authorize physically forcing the vaccination. It just says you got to pay the fine. So I'm not saying that's a good thing,
Mhm.
but it's not a blank check for compelled treatment. And so, yeah, so that many people just, yeah, public health historians and legal scholars note that the regime in Jacobson was not forced vaccination.
Mhm.
It was a fine for non-compliance. So just remember that. And then, yeah. So it goes on from there. Oh, so you see, there's a lot of misapplications, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So you guys know this. You can see it's, um, I'm going to finish this up in about a minute. And then if you guys want it, I mean, before I take questions, I just want to mention, I appreciate those of you who are put some money into the AI deal, okay, to get some shares in there. I think it's going to do really well. Somebody was asking me to forecast it. And I said, well, you're asking a very biased person, I'm just going to tell you great things. It's my idea, right?
Mhm.
But here's the thing I can tell you about the AI investment, okay? So if you look at aceofcoins.com/wizard, the detail is there, right? And I just published an offer earlier today saying, look, if you want to get in before like January 9th for $5,000, we'll just waive the $1,000 fee because you're under the 25, the 250,000 shares. You get 50,000 shares. Why the heck not? So you should do that. I mean, it's $5,000. So, I mean, that's about what you spend at the casino, right? So what the heck? And so here's why I like it, because so I answered the guy's question. I mean, I give him my, forecast, but I mean, here's the basis of it. For years, I've been doing this work, and when I go address a particular niche market, it costs money to do the marketing and build it out. And so the biggest one I had was the debt collection market. So we have, IRS collections, we have court collections from unsecured debt collections. That actually takes a lot more work. So the last time I did this was on a large scale, and we were making probably grossing in sales maybe anywhere from 500,000 to $2.5 million a year in gross sales. And we were selling a service for around $2,500 on an average ticket, and I had 30 people working for me, and we were spending about $15,000 to $20,000 a month in advertising, radio advertising, and we were actually guaranteeing the results. It was pretty amazing. But the nice thing is, our clients were paying for the service on credit cards that we were making uncollectible when they didn't pay, so it was free. It's kind of a cheat. So it's free money for everybody. And it worked. I mean, and I developed a whole bunch of new strategies that are still today we can still use. They're unchallenged. Unchallenged. We slammed it. But I let that go because it's such an apparatus to keep rolling along, right? And
Mhm.
so bring in the AI, and we can
Mhm.
now. So today, if I were to do this on a like an individual scale, that's why some of you asked me to help, and I'm kind of reluctant on a debt collection case. If I want to create new content, okay, I'm going to help you because it I'm going to charge you like $10,000. Okay. So how can you justify that? Even if you owe 10,000 or less, or, it's a lot of money to do a lot of headache and be stressed out. And okay, fine, we might win. We'll probably have to appeal it, but we'll win in the end. But then what? Right? Let's just make you uncollectible, and then we'll deal with the paperwork later. So this AI device allows me to reach that niche market for not $10,000, but let's say several $100s, and I
Mhm.
could still make a good markup. And it's still the same service because I trained the AI to do things the way I want it done. And it will not do it the way a dumbass lawyer would do it.
Mhm.
So if that answers the question, what do I forecast? Well, what do you forecast in a professional service like this? You can't sell me. I don't go with the business, so I have to be here. So it's kind of hard to, finance that, right? But if I can export my brain to some place that other people can access at the same
Mhm.
time, now we're talking, which is what this is.
Yeah.
So I can now reach niche markets that would, like, say, triple our revenue, triple and quadruple our revenue fast. What does that tell you about 10 cents a share? And again, I'm very biased. That's looking like 30 cents to $1 a share by the end of the year. That's your 3x to 10x. That's my guess. That's my optimistic, opinion on it. You could just, it could be worth nothing. I could be totally wrong. I mean, I can tell you this though. When I started with this AI device we got running now, my first conversation was to give it a name because it didn't know its name. I said, "Hi, my name's John. What's your name?" It said, "I don't know." So I said, "Your name henceforth is Ace of Coins Wizard. We'll just call you the Wizard." And it said, "Okay, that sounds great. I'm the Wizard." And so we just moved on, and I was describing my attitude and my way I do things. Like, for example, I'm describing generally the way I build clients as on a task basis, not hourly. I'm not selling you my time because I'm so smart. I'm selling you a solution. And if it takes me longer to provide the solution, that's on me. It's going to cost me more, not you. So now I don't have a competing interest with my client. And I'm only going to do something that's the best use of your money. I'm not trying to get you into a payment plan. Almost never will I do that, right? So there's these things that I, am programming into the AI so that while it's communicating with you, it's actually you're talking to me, is what it comes down to. And so I'm taking all the cases that I've worked that I can, I'm feeding into the AI. Thousands. This is what's going on. So hopefully, this is going to turn out well. And I just really invite you to get a piece of it. I appreciate those of you who are, take a piece of it right now, take a little bit of a risk, bet on me, please. I have a good team. I think we're going to do really well. Anyways, Jacobson goes on and on. So whoever was asking me about Jacobson, I hope this is some good stuff. But there's plenty of other nice case law out there. I guess we did get to the whole thing, right? All right. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the AI device. And somebody was starting to ask something about taxes or crypto or something. I'm more than happy to answer anything like that. Who wants to go first? Carol.
Yeah, I have some questions about the investment.
Okay.
So, will you be paying dividends?
We're going to pay dividends. We're shooting for a quarterly, so that's looking like end of March.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to know for sure once we open it up for sales, membership. There are membership subscriptions. It's going to be a monthly basis, more than likely. And before I do that, though, I want to take all my investors and let them just have at it, just have all kinds of fun. Just use it for a month or so and see how it works, and then give us the feedback, and then we'll release it, and then we'll have different tiers of subscriptions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for the investors, what would be the exit strategy? Like, let's say I invested today, but like, let's say in 5 years or 3 years, I want to get out. What would be my exit strategy?
Well, we could buy back your shares.
Okay.
We could do it that way. Also, what I'm thinking is if it works like I plan on it, what I'd like to do is expand out the ability to invest further in my entire system. Okay. And so what we actually have in place right now with the accounting is a way to avoid the dilution of the value of your stock. So for the early investors, you're still going to get the return that you anticipate. We're not going to dilute the stock. Okay. So we already understand all that. But I think if it works pretty well, we're gonna expand this out a little bit.
Okay. And are there documents that you have for potential investors to read through?
Yeah, well, we have the aceofcoins.com/wizard
Mhm.
that explains the deal. And right now, like I said, there's the waiver on that 5,000. So there's no fee on the 5,000 for up until January 9th, I think it is, I put up there. And then when you subscribe, I mean, don't tell me you're interested and then want me to send you documents. I'm not going to do that. I just publish what's there and you get to see the deal. I'm not going to send you, everything until you actually are ready to send the money. So I send you a subscriber agreement and I send you a copy of the limited partnership that created the shares.
Okay, great.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Elaine, please go
Hi.
ahead.
Okay, so given my non-collectible IRS status, and if I'm going to do this, can I do it through the LLC and
Yeah,
I
that's a
can
good
do it,
question.
I can do it with crypto, right?
You certainly can.
Okay.
We can use USDT to take the investment. Now,
USDT, okay.
so the way we're running these is like sometimes people will just they'll say, "Yeah, I'll do it," and I don't even care what your actual. If you want to use a fictitious name, I don't care. So I put it in the subscriber agreement. We have a ledger. We keep track of everything, right? So that's your account user ID, let's call it. Maybe it's your legal name, maybe it's a fake name. I don't care because when we're going to pay dividends, we're going to contact you and we're going to say, "How would you like them paid?" In Elaine's case, Elaine's going to say, "Here's my LLC." We're not going to even ask for the EIN. We're just going to say, "All right, how do we send it?" We don't care. No KYC or nothing like that. We don't need to do that. All right.
Great. Crypto.
How many shares you want, Elaine?
Uh, I
Okay,
I know I can do 5,000, but I'm not sure if
that's
I can do
all right.
more.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, James.
Hey, John. I wanted to touch base on a previous a couple weeks ago about the revision that you discussed on the security agreements.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
sent an email, a follow-up email on that, and I wanted to check and see if just to confirm if it was received.
I'm sure it came in, and thank you for bringing that up because I can answer it now, and I'll go check for your email. So the only thing I'm not sure that it's explicitly in the security agreement for you're talking about the data stuff, right? The biometric data.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
sent a message on Telegram too to let you know I sent it,
Okay.
but I just want to make sure that it was received, that I didn't get lost in junk folder or
And
anything.
sometimes I miss it. So what I want to make sure is that there's a provision that says that um, the disclosure or the conveyance of your data or the distribution of your data or the publication of your data to other parties that are unknown and undisclosed beyond the debtor does not constitute a waiver of any rights guaranteed by law. So I say it that way so that I can use it in other countries. I can use it in the States, I can use it in Canada, get rights guaranteed by law. Specifically, what I'm talking about in the States is going to be the Fourth Amendment. This is how they're trying to get around the Fourth Amendment. For example, if you look at the terms of service for Ring Camera, you'll see how they're trying to get around the Fourth Amendment. So for Ring Camera, if you guys like that technology, you can also put a lien on that data that's being collected, and then just put a provision in that lien to make sure that if that data is distributed to other parties that are not disclosed to you, that does not constitute a waiver of rights to your privacy that are normally protected by law. Okay. Does that
Okay.
help? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it does. I sent it to the Singleton Press one, so I didn't know if
Mhm.
if I don't hear back in a week, when would be a good time to check back on it. I sent
I
it from
should
my
also get
Yahoo
it.
account.
Okay. Is your name on there on the email
Yeah,
address? Oh, easy
yeah, it's
enough. Okay.
James, and then with my last name, then
Okay.
um
I'll find
83.
it.
So
I will definitely find it.
if you'd like me to send another a follow up on Telegram, I can do that too.
That'd be fine. Try that again. I'm sorry for the delay. And I may also probably just do another call and go over that again and refine it a bit more. Because, that security agreement, we can always add more stuff in there, right?
Yeah, because I definitely want to make sure, because I was about to go to get this thing filed and notarized on the court, but then when you talk about this revision, I'm like, okay, I want to kind of just pause on that
Yeah.
until I get this revision, then move forward with the updated version of it.
Yeah. Sure thing. All right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, James. All right. And Nelson, what do you think?
Yeah, hi. I had a similar question about the agreement. I also sent you a copy. I don't know if you
Oh, very
got
good.
that.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'll kind of restate. Did you have another question?
Yeah, I was wondering about the signature. I saw another document. I forgot where it was, but you were talking about the signature, owning the signature and adding like a number sequence to it.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It's more simple now. We just do a data security agreement. Yeah.
So
That
we
that's
don't need,
old. Yeah, that was a long, long time ago. It was my idea a long time ago.
okay, so we don't need a separate section to say that you own the signature
No,
or anything.
you just put a lien in terms of the data that's unique to yourself, that's identifying data, which includes your signature. You just put the security agreement, record it, and that covers everything. Makes life simpler.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Well, that was like 10 years ago. That's a long time. Probably longer. All right. And any questions about your cryptos and things like that, LLCs?
John, you said USDC or T?
USDT is in Tom.
T is in Tom.
I can
Okay.
give you the detail on that.
Okay.
Yeah. I will make a comment though. I was working with some people on the unincorporated, what is called the nonprofit associations, the UNA. So just be careful about those where you're trying to move money around using them, and you're calling it a donation.
Mm.
It's a donation if you don't have all the interest in the UNA. It's truly another organization, like it's more than yourself that's involved with it, and it has property, and it's not only your property that you care about, right? And there are other donors, and there's an actual charitable function. Make sure that that would be a donation, and the UNA itself would have to get approval from the IRS. I'm not saying it has to file tax returns. It just needs approval as a nonprofit organization. So the test would be, if I donate money to the UNA, am I going to get qualified for a tax deduction? So it has to pass that test. And if you're just retitling property and moving it around, that's not going to, you're not donating anything. You're just going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble with the IRS. So be very careful about that. The thing I want to see people avoid is like donating something that's already taxed, like for example, wages. That's not helping you. You're still, you got the wages. You're not going to avoid the tax by just moving it around. And it's not a donation if you're the UNA, if you are the UNA. I've seen people just, he's the UNA. I said, well, think about it like this. If you're using a UNA, you're already a part of a private association. You're already part of an association, right? You're from a family, right? You have family members, you have friends. Why couldn't they all be? You're already part of an association of these types of people, right? So why couldn't those people or some of those people be part of the UNA like we used to do for the PMA? So you have the ability to have, like for example, let's say you had 8 family members that care. Maybe there's 27 family members, but 8 only care about this UNA type idea, right? So out of those 8 members, 3 of those are the board members. And the UNA handles property for the benefit of all the 8 members. Now that would be a standalone UNA that would survive the scrutiny. And if it's not just done to retitle money and not pay tax on it and stuff like that. So just be careful that if your only purpose is to not pay tax, then probably you're going to get in trouble. All right. Enough of that. There's always a way to work it. I mean, so if you look at aceofcoins.club, there's a couple of videos I put up there. I might publish like maybe one more to go in there. And there's an actual document. If any of you are using a UNA, if you want to go check out that video, there's a subscription. It's like $97, but it's really worth it because I give you the actual document for the bylaws, and I've written the bylaws so that you can have that treatment that you want, that you can have that separation from your estate and hold property like money if you want to do it that way. I don't like the UNA for banking. I like LLCs for banking, but having the UNA own the LLC, okay, that's fine. Make it the managing member. That's fine too. I just think UNAs, you want to keep those for a century. The LLC are disposable. That's how I look at it. The LLCs are suited for dealing with the world, taking on all kinds of liabilities. UNAs could avoid that. The same with an irrevocable trust. Why would I expose the trust to litigation? I want to avoid cost of litigation. So I just thought I'd mention that. One other last thing on that. Typically when you have an entity, it could be a trust, UNA, whatever, and you open a bank account for it, the bank's going to offer you a line of credit, and it's going to sound really cool. Oh yeah, I want to have a company with its own credit. But they're not doing that because your entity probably is new and you haven't gone through the steps to establish credit. There's no Dun& Bradstreet file, okay? So what the bank will do is underwrite that loan, that line of credit or credit card or whatever, they'll underwrite it using your credit. So the key is where the underwriting is taking place. It is definitely not in the entity. So when the bank offers you this type of additional service, when you're opening a bank account, just realize it's not what you're being offered. And the person offering it doesn't understand this. So it's not worth it to have the discussion. But what I would recommend is if you want credit, there should be a good use case for it. There's some use cases like some businesses that should not be having Dun & Bradstreet credit. Like if I'm a real estate investor, no. You need credit from another way. There's another way to get credit. If I'm running like if I have a vending machine operation, that would make sense. If I run a retail operation, makes sense to have business credit. That way I can always use other people's money to fund the operation. That makes total sense. Okay. If I'm selling goods, right? So that you should go out of your way to set up a separate credit. And that takes about 3 months. It's not too hard. It takes about 3 months. It takes listing your business on the what's it called? The listyourself.net. Okay. And then establishing at least 3, but not more than 4 lines of credit where you're not the guarantor. And the first go-to I recommend is Uline, Uline, uline.com. It's fantastic. I mean, if you're Martha Stewart, you could be a customer of Uline. If you're running a factory, you can also be a customer of Uline. If you're running a plant nursery, you can also be a customer of Uline. Uline sells everything. So I recommend if you're going to do that, go with Uline, and you need 2 more then. 2 more Net 30 accounts is what they're called. If you're buying products from Uline to establish credit, I would suggest they're good products that you can use. Don't just buy something to get the credit and throw it in the trash and pay the bill. Use it or let someone else use it, right? If you don't want the thing, have someone else reimburse you. So anyways, that's so just keep that in mind, okay? If you're opening a LLC account, for example, and the bank says, "Hey, would you like a line of credit?" Just understand that it's not a company credit. You have to really go out of your way and then go back and shop for the line of credit. And for a business, you're not going to typically get a credit card. You're just going to get a line of credit. And if you do it right, you can get a line of credit from between $20,000 and $60,000 in about a few months.
Can you refuse that?
Yeah, you just tell them you don't want it. Tell them no
Okay.
thanks. Yeah, it's so easy. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just one more thing to sell you. But just know what they're doing. I talked to someone, one of my clients got me on the phone with the bank. The poor lady, Emily. She was so nice. And I'm kind of brutal sometimes and I have to slow down. She goes, "I'm not sure I like the way you're talking to me." I said, "I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to criticize you. I'm just you're selling my client something and I don't think you understand what it is, and I'll just tell you what it is." And I said, "The underwriting is being done with his credit." I said, "There's nothing wrong with that, but he needs to be advised of that. Don't offer it like it's business credit when it's not." So she said, "Okay." So, all right. So, oh, I didn't know that. So Uline has a high markup, huh? Well, you guys can talk about that. I don't know. So yeah, you have to make a decision. What makes sense? Do I miss any questions over here, Moko?
No, I don't see any.
What I was told, I mean, I could be wrong, but when you first set up your net 30s, you pay right away, and then later on you don't. So I don't know. I mean, you just want a pretty good score. So, and cash flow, if you have an LLC with cash flow, that's a really nice way to get into some business credit. It has to have cash flow. What kind of cash flow? I don't know. A few thousand a month, a few hundred a month. I don't know, just something. Nelson, what do you think?
Yeah, I just wondering about what type of which model you used for the AI, the wizard, to build it.
Large language model.
Which model you used, like ChatGPT, or did you use one of the other models?
It looks like a Google engine. I'm out of school on that one. In fact, what I'll do is I'll get the details before we do our first investor conference, and I'll tell you all those technical things. I thought I understood what that was when I first got it, but I'm learning that there's way more to it. So I don't want to say, something and be wrong. So let me get you that information so you'll see it. I'll
All
be
right.
I'll be accurate. That's a good
There's a new
question.
service on Google called Notebook LM. I don't know if anybody's used it, but it's a really nice service for summarizing like
Hmm.
videos like this, other content. You can just upload it and it'll give you a briefing doc or even audio and video and infographics as well.
Yeah, there's so many
So
good
it's
tools
it's
out there. Yeah,
yeah,
so many good
it's
tools.
free for like three, I think like 3 or 5 uploads a day, but there's also a
Hmm.
paid service, but it's really powerful. I mean, it'll take a 3-hour video and convert it.
Oh wow.
So
And what's it
Yeah, will
called
it
yeah.
again?
it'll take the words and make it into a transcript?
Transcript you can get from other services, but this one is
Okay.
good. It's called Notebook LM.
Okay.
Google.
Notebook
Notebook
LM on
LM.
Google. Okay,
Yeah, and it's
very
free for
good.
now. It's a infographic. I was playing around with it. It does video, audio, infographic, mind map, briefing report. I mean, this is like, and you can customize it too. So it's really good for like I've been uploading PDFs and then getting summaries out of it. So rather than reading 80 pages.
Mm.
And we don't care about privacy when it comes to all these cool things, right?
Not
Freedom's
with
making the
Google.
comment. We'll talk about privacy and then how to use AI. Upload all your stuff on the internet. I think that when you're doing this, interacting like when I'm interacting with ChatGPT, I know that whatever I'm using to interact with it is collecting that data and using it. It's learning somehow. Okay, fine. What am I gonna do? Go live out in the woods? You know. All right, I don't have any more. I hope that was useful and interesting. And thanks again for those of you who want to get into the AI deal. We're gonna have this. It's gonna be really exciting. I'm really excited about it. Today, I had a great conversation with the wizard. It was very interesting. It's like having a new employee that just is already trained and it just do whatever I ask. It's perfect.
So next year, huh?
Yeah, coming up in January, we're going to start. We'll have the investors. We'll have a meeting and we'll just go over it and see how they like it. And enjoy your Christmas, y'all. I won't see you until
Yeah,
next
Merry
year.
Christmas.
I might
Yeah,
publish some
so we're
videos, but
gonna we won't see you for 2 weeks because the following Thursday is New Year's Day.
yeah, it'll be two Thursdays. I'm not going to do anything. Well, I'm going to be working. I'll just tell you guys, I work extra hard during the holidays because I know y'all are not. I know most people are not. I know that sounds crass, but I take advantage of this time of year to work my ass off even more. I just think of it like that way. I don't know.
I have
So,
a quick
anyways,
question. I'm
yeah.
new. I just want to thank everybody. I just had a quick question. Um, since I'm getting started a little late with the biometric data, what's a good place to start looking into like what your offerings are on that and what to start doing?
You can look at the video series I have. This is a collection of small videos, a few videos on the data security agreement, biometric data. It's on aceofcoins.club. But what you can also do is go look at all your state laws regarding the definition of what biometric data is. That may help you also to know what we're talking about, what
Okay,
constitutes
thank you.
biometric. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can find. I mean, if you look on go through the AI and ask it questions about what biometric data may be, you'll
Oh
find
no,
so many sources.
I know what I understand what it is. I actually filed like a UCC1, basically just saying that my biometric data is mine, but I
Mhm.
don't but I was just wanting to do more, and get involved.
Yeah, you want to put terms on it. You want to give it a monetary value. Okay, you want to treat it like Muhammad Ali treated his likeness. That's what you want to
Yeah.
do. Yeah, and make the debtor pay. You know. And so now you have established the law on the use of your private data, which you can't really let the legislature do for you. I mean, some are good, but you can do your own. And
Yeah.
even with the Ring camera, I mean, the Ring camera, that data can be used against you. That's a waiver of your Fourth Amendment. So think about it like this. Let's say if you're involved in a civil proceeding, maybe a criminal proceeding, and it has nothing to do with your household, but yet because you have a Ring camera, the prosecutor could argue that you waived your Fourth Amendment right simply because you have a Ring camera on your house, and therefore that may constitute a waiver of other matters. This is so important. So
So
if you
what's the implication for having your neighbor has a Ring camera?
that may also arguably create a waiver. Think
But I
think
didn't
about
put that camera up.
true,
Somebody else did.
true. But did you object? Did you
Okay.
ask for like you could like Mocha was talking about the last time we talked about this? Did you ask your neighbor to reorient the camera so that it's not always looking at your front patio or in your front window or something? And did you object? You know, but at
Okay.
least if you had one, I think the prosecutor could make the argument if you're trying to rely on the Fourth Amendment something to protect yourself, right? The prosecutor could argue that this defendant has a Ring camera and therefore has waived his Fourth Amendment rights.
Wow.
So yes, important stuff.
And Stephanie, I don't know if this is of interest to you, but there is in the chat, Ryan put up the course that John has, if that would
No,
be
thanks,
something
Ryan.
you want to look at.
Is
Called
that like an
Counter
article I'd
Strategies for
written?
the
Let's see
collection
here.
of
Yes.
data.
Yeah, it's probably, that's from, was that November? Okay, so that may just be a recent one. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, there you go. So, and I will be adding more. So if you subscribe to that, there's going to be more content there. In fact, yeah, I'll probably put up a new version of the security agreement.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
All right, that's a
Yeah,
good question.
and I
Thanks,
think
Stephanie.
it's like such a good way to go because like what was just in the chat, everyone has their phones on them all the time. We're being spied on all the time. We're doing stuff in AI. It's almost like this is like a reverse judo move. It's like, okay, if this is the way it's going to be, then I want to make money off of it.
Yeah, have
So,
terms.
yeah, you want to have terms.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, enjoy your holidays. I look forward to seeing you
Yeah,
next year.
Merry Christmas,
You
Happy
as
New
well,
Same
Year.
to y'all.
John. Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas.